The rain was relentless, a steady tap-tap-tap against the metal roof of the garage, echoing in the otherwise quiet night. I was deep into the intricate guts of a vintage Triumph motorcycle, wiping the grease from my hands when I sensed her presence. She stood in the doorway, a silhouette against the dim light, her eyes like dark pools reflecting the storm outside. "Rushing is what boys do," she said, her voice a smooth, low timbre that cut through the sound of the rain. "Men decide." I paused, the wrench slipping slightly in my grip. Her words hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning. It was the kind of line that could shift the ground beneath your feet, make you question the very foundation of your being. I looked up, meeting her gaze. It was like she could see right through me, into all the things I kept hidden even from myself. "My name's Jack Morrison, by the way. I'm 32. A mechanic by trade with a penchant for all things vintage. Cars, bikes, you name it. Fixing up old machines is my way of finding order in the chaos. Lately, though, chaos was all I'd been feeling. My emotional state. Let's just say the storm outside had nothing on the one inside my chest." She was Claire Bennett, my landlady, and the owner of the cafe down the street where I often grabbed my morning coffee. She was 37, carried herself with a kind of quiet confidence that was both intimidating and magnetic. There was an aura about her, like she was always on the edge of some great decision, weighing options invisible to everyone else. The rain picked up, a drumming that matched the beat of my racing heart. Claire stepped further into the garage, crossing the threshold that separated us. She moved with purpose, yet her steps were soft, deliberate. There was a calmness to her demeanor that belied the intensity of her gaze, a storm contained within a serene exterior. "Why do you say that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, casual. I went back to tinkering with the bike, but my attention was split, half on the machine, half on her every move. "Because it's true," she replied, leaning against the workbench, arms crossed loosely. Her eyes never left mine. "Boys rush into things without thinking. Men take their time, weigh their choices. It's about maturity, Jack." I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her words settle over me like a second skin. It was a challenge, a dare to rise above the chaos, to make decisions that mattered. But there was something else, too. A current of forbidden closeness that neither of us acknowledged but both felt. It was there in the charged silence, in the way her eyes lingered just a moment too long. As I worked, the rain continued its relentless assault on the roof. Time seemed to stretch, each second punctuated by the soft hum of our shared space. Claire's presence was both a comfort and a distraction, a reminder of something I couldn't quite name but felt in every fiber of my being. "Why this bike?" she asked suddenly, breaking the silence that had grown between us. I glanced at the Triumph, its frame gleaming under the fluorescent lights despite the years of wear and tear. "It's a classic," I said, shrugging. "There's something about bringing it back to life, making it run again." She nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her lips. "I get that. It's like giving something a second chance." Our eyes met again, and there it was. A flicker of understanding, a shared acknowledgement of the unspoken. We were two people standing at the edge of something, the line between us as thin as the air we breathed. In that moment I realized that Claire's words were more than just an observation. They were an invitation to step out of the storm and into something different, something deeper. But the fear of what lay beyond that line held me back, kept me anchored to the familiar chaos. The rain began to ease, the heavy drumming tapering off to a gentle patter. Claire pushed off the workbench and walked over to where I stood. She reached out, her fingers brushing lightly against my arm, a touch so fleeting it left me aching for more. "Don't rush," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Decide." And just like that, she turned and walked back into the house, leaving me alone in the garage with the rain and the triumph and the echo of her words. The air felt different, charged with possibility and the promise of something more. I stood there for a long time, the wrench cold in my oil, the rain died a soft symphony around me. Claire's words lingered, a ghost of a challenge, a dare to make choices that mattered. In the quiet aftermath of her departure, I realized that the storm had passed, both outside and within. The rain had washed away the uncertainty, leaving behind a fragile new reality, a space where decisions could be made, where men could choose. And so I decided to choose. Not to rush, not to cross the line, but to stand at its edge and see what lay beyond. The rain had slowed to a gentle patter, a soft percussion against the metal roof that seemed to sync with this quiet rhythm of my thoughts. I stood there, hands still greasy from tinkering with the Triumph, the scent of oil and rain mingling in the air. My name is Jack Morrison, a 32-year-old mechanic, though tonight I felt like anything but. The storm outside had been nothing compared to the one raging inside me, a tempest of uncertainty and longing, a reaction to Claire Bennett's enigmatic presence. She was still there, standing in the dim light of the garage doorway, a figure of calm amidst the chaos. Claire, at 37, exuded a confidence that seemed to ripple through the air like a tangible force. As the owner of the local cafe, she was no stranger to decisions and their consequences. Her words, spoken with a quiet conviction, had pierced through my hesitance. "Don't rush. Decide." I glanced up at her, my eyes meeting hers. There was a challenge in her gaze, one that dared me to step out of my comfort zone. Her presence was magnetic, pulling at something deep within me that I couldn't quite name. For a moment, the world outside faded into insignificance, leaving just the two of us and the unspoken tension that hung between us like a delicate thread. "Claire," I started, my voice betraying the uncertainty I felt. "What if I don't know what to decide? What if I'm just stuck?" Her lips curled into a small, knowing smile, the kind that suggested she had been there too, once upon a time. She stepped further into the garage, the soft glow of the overhead bulb casting shadows that danced across her face. "Being stuck isn't the problem, Jack. It's staying stuck that is." Her words resonated, echoing in the quiet space between us. She was right, of course. It wasn't the indecision that was the issue. It was my reluctance to move, to change, to risk. I swallowed, trying to find my footing in this conversation that was veering into deeper waters than I'd anticipated. I don't want to mess things up," I admitted, almost to myself as much as to her. I could feel the vulnerability in my words, a raw truth that was both liberating and terrifying. Claire nodded, her eyes softening as she leaned against the workbench, crossing her arms. "Messing up is a part of life. We learn more from our mistakes than our successes. But Jack," she paused, her gaze locking with mine, "not making a choice is still making a choice." Her words were like a spotlight on the path I had been too afraid to tread. There was something in her tone, a mixture of empathy and challenge, that made me want to step forward, to embrace the uncertainty rather than shy away from it. The air felt charged, the space between us humming with possibilities. I took a deep breath, the scent of rain and oil grounding me. "What about you, Claire? What choice are you facing?" She hesitated, a rare moment of vulnerability slipping through her composed exterior. Her eyes flickered to the rain-soaked world outside before returning to me. "I'm considering expanding the cafe," she confessed, her voice quieter now, as if sharing a secret. "It's a big step, and I can't help but wonder if I'm biting off more than I can chew." Her honesty was a balm, a reminder that even the most confident among us have their doubts. I nodded, understanding the weight of her decision. "Sounds like a good problem to have," I offered, a small smile tugging at my lips. Claire chuckled, the sound warm and genuine. "I suppose it is. But it's still scary, you know?" Yeah, I agreed, the word heavy with the shared burden of uncertainty. Silence settled over us, but it was a comfortable one, filled with the soft polter of rain and the distant rumble of thunder. Claire's presence was a steady anchor amidst the storm, a reminder that I didn't have to navigate the choppy waters alone. As the rain began to taper off, leaving behind a world washed clean, I felt a shift within me. It was subtle, like the first hint of dawn on the horizon, but it was there, a glimmer of hope, of possibility. Claire had given me something invaluable, the courage to face the unknown, to make decisions, not as a boy rushing headlong into the fray, but as a man choosing his path with intention. "Jack!" Claire's voice drew me back to the present, her eyes holding mine with a quiet intensity. "Whatever you decide, just know that you don't have to do it alone." Her words were a lifeline, a promise that steadied me in a way I hadn't expected. I nodded, letting the weight of her offer settle over me like a comforting blanket. "Thank you, Claire," I said, my voice steady with newfound resolve. She smiled, a soft, genuine expression that lit up her face. "Any time." With that, she turned, her footsteps echoing softly as she made her way back to the doorway. I watched her go. The distance between us measured in more than just physical space. There was something profound in our exchange, something that hinted at more than just friendship. But for now, it was enough. This shared understanding, this silent promise of support. As the rain finally ceased, leaving behind a world renewed, I returned to the Triumph, my hands finding their rhythm once more. The task felt different now, less like a burden and more like a choice, a decision I was prepared to make with the clarity Claire's presence had afforded me. Time passed, marked by the steady tick of the clock on the wall and the soft hum of the world outside. I worked in silence, my mind a whirl of thoughts and possibilities, yet there was a calmness there now, a quiet confidence that had been absent before. When I eventually stepped back from the Triumph, wiping my hands on a rag, I felt a sense of accomplishment that went beyond the mechanical. It was a small victory, but it was mine, achieved not through rushing, but through deliberate choice. The garage felt different too, as if the very air had shifted, becoming lighter, more expansive. I glanced at the doorway where Claire had stood, her absence palpable yet comforting, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this journey. As I closed up for the night, the echoes of her words lingered in my mind, a testament to the power of connection and the courage it takes to face the unknown. The path ahead was still uncertain, but it was mine to decide, and for the first time in a long while that felt like enough. As I stepped out into the night, the world seemed full of possibilities, the air crisp and fresh, carrying with it the scent of rain and the promise of a new beginning. And just like that, with a heart full of hope and a mind ready to embrace the unknown, I walked into the night, knowing that whatever came next I was ready to decide. The rain drummed a soft rhythm against the roof, a persistent reminder of the world outside, as I stood in the dimly lit garage, my hands greasy from the vintage motorcycle that lay in pieces before me. My name is Jack Morrison, a 32-year-old mechanic with a penchant for old machines, and a heart that often feels like a tangled mess of wires and gears. Tonight, though, the chaos inside me was settling, transformed into something almost serene by the storm's embrace. The patter of raindrops was more than just background noise. It was a soothing melody that calmed my restless thoughts and allowed me to focus on the task at hand. The garage was my sanctuary, a place where I could escape the complexities of life and immerse myself in the simplicity of mechanics. The air was thick with the scent of oil and metal, a familiar aroma that wrapped around me like an old comforting blanket. Overhead, a single bulb cast a warm yellow light, creating long shadows that danced across the walls with each flicker. Tools lay scattered on the workbench, each one a trusted companion in my journey, to resurrect the vintage motorcycle before me. It was a classic piece, a 1967 Triumph Bonneville, and its restoration was a labor of love. The machine had a story, a history that I was determined to honor with every turn of the wrench and every drop of sweat. Claire Bennett, my landlady, and the owner of the cafe just down the street, lingered in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the warm glow of the hallway light behind her. At 37, Claire possessed a confidence that seemed as effortless as breathing, yet her aura carried an enigma that left me perpetually curious. Her presence was a paradox, both grounding and electrifying, and I found myself drawn to her in a way that defied explanation. Her words lingered in the air. Rushing is what boys do. Men decide. They resonated deep within me, challenging the indecision that had been my constant companion. Claire was more than just a landlord. She was a friend, a confidant, someone who had seen me at my best and my worst, and somehow still believed in me. Her cafe, a cozy little establishment with mismatched furniture and the aroma of freshly baked goods, was a haven for the community. It was a place where people gathered to share stories, laughter, and the occasional tear over a cup of coffee. Claire was the heart of that cafe, her warmth and wisdom infusing every corner of the space. As I worked, I felt her eyes on me, a quiet presence that was both comforting and unsettling. The rain had softened to a gentle patter, and I could hear the distant hum of the cafe's evening patrons filtering through the open door. It was as if the world had paused, giving us this moment suspended in time. I could almost see the threads of connection weaving between us, fragile yet unbreakable, a tapestry of shared moments and unspoken understanding. How's it coming along? Claire's voice cut through the quiet, low and steady, carrying an undertone of genuine curiosity. Her question was more than just small talk. It was an invitation to share a piece of myself, to let her in on the journey I was undertaking. I looked up from the bike, meeting her gaze. Her eyes were an earnest blue, like the sky just after a storm, promising clarity. "It's getting there," I replied, wiping my hands on a rag. "These old machines have a way of testing your patience." My words were laced with affection for the bike, a testament to the bond that had formed between us through hours of toil and triumph. Claire stepped further into the garage, the rain-slicked pavement glistening behind her like a path leading away from our cocoon. She closed the door, shutting out the noise of the world, leaving just the two of us and the steady rhythm of rain. Her presence filled the space with an energy that was both invigorating and calming, a juxtaposition that mirrored the storm outside. "I imagine," she said, her voice softer now, almost conspiratorial. "It's a lot like running a cafe. You can't rush a good brew, you know? You have to decide how to coax the best flavors out." Her metaphor was apt, a reflection of her own journey and the choices she faced. It was a reminder that life, like coffee, required patience and care to reveal its true essence. I nodded, appreciating the metaphor. "Yeah, I guess that's true for a lot of things." Our conversation was a dance of words, a delicate balance of give and take, each statement an offering of insight and understanding. We shared a moment of silence, the kind that seems to stretch and contract all at once, filled with the unsaid. I returned my attention to the motorcycle, tightening a bolt thoughtfully. Claire moved closer, her footsteps almost inaudible over the rain's whisper, until she stood beside me. Her proximity was a comfort, a reminder that I was not alone in the decisions that lay before me. "You know," she began, her voice quieter now, "I've decided to go ahead with the expansion." Her confession hung in the air between us, a testament to her own courage and the choices she was making. It was a declaration of intent, a leap of faith into the unknown. I sensed a vulnerability in her admission, a crack in the confident exterior she often wore like armor. I could feel the pull to offer something in return, to balance the scales of our unspoken exchange. "That's a big step," I said, keeping my tone supportive yet neutral, unsure of how much to reveal of my own internal struggle. "But you seem like someone who knows what she wants." Claire laughed softly, a sound like distant thunder, gentle yet resonant. "I like to think so," she replied, her eyes meeting mine with an intensity that was both challenging and inviting. "But sometimes, Jack, wanting isn't enough. You have to decide to go after it." Her words were a challenge, a call to action that resonated deep within me. I turned the wrench in my hand, feeling the cool metal against my skin, a tangible reminder of the decisions waiting for me outside this garage. "Yeah," I agreed. "Deciding is the hard part." Our conversation was a reflection of the internal struggle I faced, a battle between fear and desire, doubt and determination. Her gaze lingered on me, searching as if she could see past my carefully crafted exterior to the turmoil beneath. "What about you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Have you decided what you want?" Her question was a gentle nudge, an invitation to confront the uncertainties that had been plaguing me. The question caught me off guard, and I hesitated, the air between us thickening with the tension of unspoken truths. I could feel my heart thudding in my chest, a steady beat that matched the rain's rhythm. Claire's presence, so close and yet so untouchable, seemed to magnify the weight of my indecision. "I think I'm still figuring that out," I admitted, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. "But I'm starting to see that maybe it's not about knowing everything from the start. Maybe it's about choosing to find out." My confession was a release, a relinquishing of the need for certainty in favor of the exploration and growth. Claire's smile was a slow, deliberate thing, like the first rays of sun breaking through a storm. "That's a good place to start," she said, her voice warm and encouraging. Her reassurance was a balm to my troubled soul, a reminder that I was not alone in my journey. We stood there side by side, listening to the rain, the silence punctuated by the occasional distant rumble of thunder. There was a comfort in her presence, a sense of shared understanding that went beyond words. It was as if, in that moment, the two of us were the only ones left in the world, bound together by the choices that lay ahead. "Jack," she said after a pause, her tone shifting. "I know we've only just started this conversation, but I think there's more to it than just bikes and cafes." Her words were a revelation, an acknowledgement of the connection that had been simmering between us, a tension that was both thrilling and terrifying in its potential. There it was, the unspoken acknowledgement of the connection that had been simmering between us, a tension that was both thrilling and terrifying in its potential. I could feel the air crackle with it, like the charged atmosphere before a lightning strike. "I'm not sure what this is," I confessed, my voice steady but my heart racing, "but I think I'd like to find out." My admission was a leap into the unknown, a willingness to embrace the uncertainty and discover what lay beyond. Claire nodded, her eyes never leaving mine. "Me too," she said simply, the promise of something more flickering in her gaze. Her response was a beacon of hope, a sign that I was not alone in my desire to explore the possibilities before us. The rain continued its steady patter, a backdrop to the uncharted territory we were stepping into. There was no rush, no need to decide everything in that moment. Instead, there was a shared understanding, an agreement to let things unfold in their own time. As we stood there, the garage around us filled with the scent of rain and oil, I realized that the choices I'd been avoiding were no longer looming shadows. They were possibilities, paths waiting to be explored, illuminated by the quiet strength of Claire's presence. And so, with the storm outside slowly abating, I found a sense of calm within myself, ready to face the future with intention, one deliberate choice at a time. The rain, once a symbol of uncertainty, had become a source of clarity, a reminder that even in the midst of chaos there was beauty and potential waiting to be discovered. With Claire by my side, I felt ready to embrace the unknown, to step into the future with courage and purpose, guided by the rhythm of the rain and the promise of the new beginnings. As the rain finally ceased, leaving behind a world that glistened under the muted glow of streetlights, I lingered in the garage, the echoes of my conversation with Claire reverberating in the quiet space. Her presence, though absent now, lingered like the scent of rain-soaked earth, a subtle reminder of the connection we had forged. I found myself savoring the silence, letting it wash over me like a gentle wave. I closed the garage door, the sound of its creaking hinges a familiar comfort, and stepped out into the cool night air. The world felt different now, as if it had been washed clean by the storm, ready to begin anew. The streets were slick with rain, reflecting the scattered lights above like a patchwork quilt. I took a deep breath, the air crisp and invigorating, filling my lungs with the promise of change. Claire's words echoed in my mind, a gentle yet insistent reminder of the power of choice. "Not making a choice is still making a choice," she had said, and I felt the truth of it resonate within me. It was time to move forward, to embrace the unknown with the courage I had found in her presence. As I walked, I allowed my thoughts to wander, contemplating the path that lay ahead. The triumph, a symbol of my dedication and perseverance, had taught me the value of patience and the beauty of restoration. And now, Claire had shown me that life, much like the vintage machine, required care and attention to uncover its true potential. The cafe loomed ahead, its warm glow spilling onto the sidewalk, a beacon of warmth and familiarity. I paused, gazing at the window where Claire had often stood, her silhouette a comforting presence amidst the bustle of daily life. I felt a smile tug at my lips, a reflection of the hope that had taken root within me. I walked past the cafe, each step a commitment to the choices I would make, the paths I would explore. The night was quiet, save for the soft whisper of the breeze and the distant hum of the city, a symphony that accompanied my journey into the unknown. In the end, the rain had done more than cleanse. It had transformed, revealing a world ripe with possibilities. With Claire's words as my guide, I felt ready to decide, to step into the future with intention and purpose. As I turned the corner, leaving the familiar behind, I carried with me the knowledge that I was not alone in this journey. The path was mine to choose, and for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough. The rain had ceased, but its legacy remained, a testament to the power of choice and the promise of new beginnings. And so, with a heart full of hope and a mind open to the possibilities, I walked into the night, ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that whatever the future held, I was ready to decide.